Hey everybody, I think you're going to get a kick out of this. This is what happens when you have too much time on your hands and you're trying to figure out an original way to start yet another video about things you can do in Bash working in the terminal. So I came up with this a few years ago, and it was the kickoff for a video about my favorite terminal tools. Here we go. Greetings and salutations, it reads. Some people might find that hard to read. This is ASCII art, boys and girls. I was fascinated with that a few years ago. So there's the EzeeLinux logo in ASCII. Welcome to the video. I hope you're doing well. You asked for it, now you're going to get it. JC's favorite terminal tools. And then a little bit about what is upcoming. This next part depends on calsay, which is a little program that used to be quite popular in Linux Mint. See, you put something in there and the cal says something. And I just couldn't resist a big finish. And that is that. This video, I've been trying to do this now for a month, and every time I have started doing it, something has happened to make it where I couldn't finish it. The phone has rang, somebody's banged on the door, the cat wanted out, I don't know, anything to take my train of thought elsewhere, and I end up giving up. So hopefully we'll get it done this time. This video is about the end of EzeeLinux, basically. 10 years of EzeeLinux. It was about 10 years ago in 2014 that I dumped Windows 7 out of my life, and on my main desktop computer I started running Ubuntu 14.04 as my main operating system. I had been using Linux for a long time before that. I had a laptop that was all Ubuntu all the time, but not my main machine. And when I switched over, it really kicked my butt down a road I couldn't even imagine that I would be going down. It was just unbelievable what happened next. I started playing around with different distributions of Linux, and I started posting videos on YouTube. Back then, I had a very small YouTube channel. I have had this particular channel since 2008. It is a grandfather old YouTube channel. At that time, I probably had about 5,000 subscribers. And I started posting videos about Linux, and they took off. People started watching, people started subscribing. I started posting more about my journey with Linux. And I got this idea that I wanted to create a company or a nonprofit project where the whole goal was to help people get started with Linux by walking them through installing it on their computers. And starting about 2015, I started working towards this. The first thing I did was I took a class for Linux administration, so I would be able to speak with authority. And then I started the EzeeLinux webpage, and I started talking about that on YouTube, and I encouraged people to contact me if they needed help getting started with Linux. And a lot of the times I would work with them on the phone. And I never asked for any specific amount of money. I asked for a gratuity, because at that time it really wasn't a business. I was just helping people get started. I was hoping to turn it into that. It never happened that way, because the YouTube channel took off in a really big way. And the next thing you know, boom, I'm on other people's YouTube channels, I'm on podcasts, I'm on radio shows, I'm on TV shows, and I'm talking about Linux and how it was such a great alternative to commercial operating systems. I still believe all that, by the way. That's never changed. But then something happened. Sometime around 2017, it all kind of peaked. Where at that point in time, there was a Facebook page that had nearly 10,000 followers. I had my own forum that I had set up on my webpage called Easy Talk, and it peaked. And then after that, there was less and less interest, and people were less and less interested in having conversations about Linux. The entire community for a little while there just turned sour. There was a lot of flaming, a lot of name calling. People were using the Linux community as a platform to espouse their own political views that don't have anything to do with Linux. It got really nasty for a little while. And people just backed away. They were just like, we don't really want to be involved with that. So if you have something going that is social media based, Facebook, YouTube, forums, blogs, that sort of thing, and you have a situation where people no longer want to talk about what your subject is, guess what? That sucks. So I started to back away from it more and more. I had a couple of weirdos that were quote unquote stalking me for a while. That happens, unfortunately. You get the strange people, the fringe, and for whatever reason, there was a couple that every time that I would, well, there was one guy really who was the issue. I would post a video, and then he would automatically send out emails to every complaint email address that you could think of, like where you would complain if somebody was abusing YouTube. He had figured out who my hosting service was because I talked about it. So where our webpage was hosted, he was sending emails to them that I was abusing it, and I was sending out spam and all this crazy stuff. It was really weird. And so every time that I would post a video, I would have to go around and put out all these fires, because the way it worked was that when these emails would come in, it would automatically open up a ticket, and you would have to explain yourself every time. Some of the people that I talked to were very cool about it, and I said, look, if you see an email from this address, this is what this is. Others weren't, and every time I had to do this, I had to go and put out these fires. It was very unpleasant. Fortunately, that person has gone away after I got law enforcement involved. But after that, it was really kind of, the writing was on the wall that things were really winding down, not only within the community, but on the YouTube platform, on Facebook. I guess maybe you could say that that phase of the history of the internet was just ending. People were tired of being abused and flamed in social media, so they just backed away from it. And Chris Ware, who is another old school Linux video producer on here, I don't know, you guys can go seek his channel, recently posted a channel about the enshittification of YouTube. What a great word that is. Enshittification means that you have a product or a service that was once very cool, and now it's becoming cheap, and the owners are getting greedy and they're screwing it up. So you say it's enshittification. And you can go watch his video about that if you want to. That's kind of what's going on with YouTube right now. I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of criticism of YouTube, but I do know that there are a lot of really big YouTube creators who are finding it very hard to keep doing what they're doing because the revenue has gone down so much on YouTube. And Google's solution to that is to add more and more commercial content, which is driving people away. There's a lot of other places that you can be. Plus, you have things out there like TikTok. It's a TikTok world. This video is going to run 20 or 30 minutes. There's very few people that will sit and listen to what you have to say for 20 or 30 minutes. It's just that. It's just the way it is now. You can't write anything anymore because nobody will read it. Matt Hartley started a web page. I believe it was in 2015 when I was just getting started on this, and he reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and it was freedompenguin.com, and he was looking for people to contribute articles and share their content, and he gave me a platform to do that and write articles, which I dearly enjoyed, that went away for the same reason that the rest of it did. It just, people stopped paying attention and devoting that kind of time to it. And it's sad, but it's true. I'm not complaining. But it was certainly, I mean, just absolutely one of the most fun things I think I've ever done. And I talked to a lot of people around the world, and it honestly changed my worldview completely. I learned a lot about people. And the one thing that I learned was that we're all the same. And it's the politicians and the governments that try and divide us. In every country that is at war right now on the planet, I have spoken to people and helped them get started with Linux on both sides. So how do you choose a side in a conflict when you know people who are in both communities, both countries? And I find that to be very sad. But Linux is a worldwide effort, and a lot of people contribute to it from every walk of life, everywhere, and it's one of the few good things happening on the planet. So I'm very happy that I was a part of that and got to participate in getting people started in that. And the YouTube channel still serves as a way for people to learn, because if they go look for it, they'll find the videos. Unfortunately, the current YouTube algorithm is not friendly to the kind of content that I post. So therefore, it doesn't do a great job of sharing videos and getting them around, and without the other platforms that I used to share YouTube videos on, I don't get the views I used to. This video right here is not going to get a whole lot of views unless you really like what I say and you share it, which would be most appreciated, but that's up to you. So YouTube for me now is just for fun. I've posted a lot of videos about records and turntables and music, which is my other passion, and you see those pop up, and I posted one of those not too long ago. And I will continue to post videos about Linux when something happens in Linux that's interesting to talk about, for sure. But for now, I'm kind of into the music thing. I work for a radio station. I'm on the air. So that's what I'm doing now, and that's what I'm posting about. This is a little piece of art that I put together when I was learning how to use Impress in LibreOffice. It's my top 5 favorite albums of all time. Well, at that time, that's what it was. I'm not really sure about that. And if you can't make it out, I will tell you. It's Billy Joel, The Stranger, Donald Fagen, The Nightfly, Jude Cole, A View from 3rd Street, Paul McCartney, Ram, and Supertramp's Breakfast in America. My top 5 favorite albums of all time whenever I put this together a while back. So there's a couple of things I wanted to comment on very quickly about my current Linux world. I still have my little local Linux network, and mainly I'm running Ubuntu on my laptops and Linux Mint Debian Edition on my main machine here. Although I am in the process of phasing out Ubuntu. And the reason why is because Ubuntu is going in a direction that I'm not real thrilled with. They have done a great deal to pretty much push their community away in the last 4 or 5 years. For instance, we have Ubuntu 24.04 that's coming up very soon. And Ubuntu 24.04 is getting very little attention on YouTube. I found a couple of videos where people have stupid screencasts with AI voices, but there's nobody who's really talking about it in great detail. And the one video I did find was somebody who was telling you why they wouldn't use it. The main problem with Ubuntu and the community right now is snaps. And nobody wants to use the Snap Package Manager. I'm not a big fan of it myself. I was a fan of it when it first came out, and I was waiting for it to improve, but there are still issues with it, and just the simple fact that the entire community says, no, we don't want this, we'd rather do something else, should send up a big flag over there at Canonical that says, hey, maybe we ought to move in a different direction, but they are not. And I also don't like GNOME, the GNOME project. They keep taking things out of the desktop. Every time you turn around, there's a feature that isn't there anymore. And I think the theming is now going away. It's like, come on, folks, forget it. I would rather use something that I can play with. I mean, that's part of the fun of Linux, is having something that's customizable. So right now, Ubuntu is running on my file server here at home, and it's running on the two desktops, and it's 2204. It works very well, and so I plan to keep it there for a while. And in future, I will post a video after 2404 hits, and we will do an in-place upgrade of my server, simply because I have done an in-place upgrade of that server every time a long-term support version of Ubuntu has come along, and posted it here on YouTube and showed you guys how it worked. So we'll do that. But these days I'm installing Linux Mint on people's computers. I just reloaded my mom's machine over the weekend, last weekend. I've been working. She's had some Wi-Fi problems. She had a really old router, and so we upgraded all of that infrastructure, and she was running on Ubuntu with the Mate desktop. It was 2004. It was long in the tooth. It was giving her problems, so it had to go. So now she is on Linux Mint 21.3, and everything is going swimmingly. And as I said, my main machine here is Linux Mint Debian Edition, which I absolutely love. So, yeah, that's the next video we're going to do, is talk about that Ubuntu upgrade, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more information about Ubuntu 2404 to pass along, but I'm not going to be doing that on the desktop. Maybe in a virtual machine we'll take a look at it. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are really that interested in it these days. I'm really starting to move more toward mainstream Debian stuff. I love Linux Mint Debian Edition, and I have been able to make it do what I need to do. That's kind of where my head's at these days. One of the things that happened when I got rid of the web page was I got to a place where I didn't need to have email anymore. Or an email client, that is, and I'm talking about Thunderbird. For many years I used Thunderbird to access the email at EzeeLinux.com, plus my Gmail account and my work account. Well, a couple of things happened. First of all, when the web page went away, the email went away. So that EzeeLinux related web page, email is gone. And so I didn't need that anymore. Also, my ISP, which is Cox Communications, decided that they no longer wanted to host email servers. So they are in the process of dumping everybody onto Yahoo, which is something that I had to do with my mom's stuff. She doesn't live very far from me. I had to switch her over the weekend, and boy, that was fun, because she had been using Thunderbird for years, because I had set her up on that. And now, since Yahoo is hosting Cox, getting it to work in Thunderbird is very difficult. They don't really want you to use a third-party app. And the same goes for what you're looking at on the screen here, which is Microsoft Outlook. This is my work email page, and fortunately, I don't have anything very interesting to look at here. Let's see if we've got any email. Nope, that comes from the computer that runs the radio station. The automation system has told me that something has changed on the log, but I changed it myself, so no big deal. Anyway, my work email, Outlook, would not work with Thunderbird when my boss decided we would switch over to this platform for our email. We were using Amazon before that. Amazon was not an issue. So I have been using webmail for my work email for a very long time now, and so I just decided to give up on it. I don't run Thunderbird anymore, and I can use the web to get my Gmail as well. So there you go. Just letting you guys know, I've come to a place where I no longer think that you need an email client to do what you need to do in life. There's no point in it. leave it up on the web. That is where I am at now. So that's about all I wanted to talk about, except for one thing. There are a couple of people that I wanted to thank when it comes to talking about the EzeeLinux project. And one of them is Gary Thomas. He helped me put the web page up originally way back in 2015. I don't know where Gary is these days. We lost touch. He's an old radio buddy of mine, and he offered to help me get WordPress up and running, and we did. And then Jeremy O'Connell, who used to work with CyberWeb Solutions in Atlanta. I don't know if he's still affiliated with them now because he moved out of the country and now lives in Thailand. He volunteered his services back in 2017 and helped us move the web page over to our own server and wrote a lot of the middleware software that was the contact page where you guys would be able to send me a message and stuff like that. That was all Jeremy. Jeremy also was a frequent guest on our videos, and we got into a lot of great stuff about SSH, and there is a video on the channel where he taught everybody how to use VI, which is evil and should go away, but I said, you know what? Let's do it. So he did. So thank you to Jeremy and Gary, and also thank you to John Spoonamore, who later on, has been doing like moderating when we would do live things here on YouTube. I haven't done one of those in a very long time, and I don't know when I'm going to do another one, to be honest with you. But John was doing that, and also I want to say thank you to Matt Hartley, of course. Matt has been a big encouragement. Also, thank you to Brian Lunduke, who's been very encouraging through the years. Brian is a very cool guy. He doesn't post very often on YouTube anymore, but he's still here, and he posts about all kinds of different subjects now. And I want to thank, who else is there? There's so many people through the years that have been so nice and reached out and extended their hand to help me up, and the attitude seemed to have been, a rising tide raises all ships. And that was wonderful. There was very little competition. So thank you to everybody who contributed in one way or another to EzeeLinux. I've had people send me computers. I've had people send me money. I've had people send me scripts and suggestions over the years. Thank you to all of you. It was a fun ride. Hopefully we did bring Linux. I don't know what that is either. Hopefully we brought it forward a notch. Hopefully we have kind of given Linux a place to exist in the world of computing as time moves forward. And I knew this 10 years ago, and I still believe this. Platforms are going to become less and less important because we're all moving toward a cloud environment. Just like I said, let go of the email client and you use the cloud to do your email. There's really no reason to have a local copy unless you have a specific reason to do that. Now, when it comes to media, I'm the exact opposite. I think if you don't have a local copy of your favorite music or your favorite movies, you don't actually have it. And that's for another video. We'll talk about that. So thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and sign this one off. I have to tell you that when that web page went away, I was a little bit emotional. And it took me a little while to kind of process through what was going on. But it is what it is, and time moves on. And I am looking for new things to do. And I will continue to post videos here on YouTube as long as the environment is conducive to do that, and it really depends on how far the in-shitification of YouTube goes. We shall see, right? Thank you for watching. Talk to you guys soon.